Welcome back to Colors or Crutch. Bam! It finally happened. We've hit a brand new milestone, and we are so fucking excited about it. We have now surpassed 500 subscribers, and we are so proud and want to say thank you to all of you wonderful people who have subscribed to us. Max, how you feel right now?
I'm so hyped, dude. I'm so hyped. I never thought we'd get here, and we're still growing. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
It was fast.
Dude.
It was fast.
500,
we've been here a couple months.
500 people listen to us, man. They listen to what we have to say. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So we got to do something. We got to do something to like celebrate this.
We do. Let me think. Let me cook. A giveaway.
Yes.
A giveaway.
But there's
a giveaway.
We have to give away, the one thing to give away, right? The only choice.
The best thing to happen to us in 2023.
Yeah, easily. Best
card. The best thing to happen to us.
The best card in 2023, right?
Should we, wait. I don't know. Let's make sure we're on the same page. I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, and we'll say the card. Okay. 3, 2, 1. The
Orcish Bowmasters. Oh, well, I mean the One Ring. Sorry. Yeah, the One Ring.
Okay.
The One Ring.
Orcish Bowmasters is probably slightly better, but let's give away the One Ring.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll give away the One Ring. But
okay. If all you gotta do, super easy. To enter this giveaway, comment below this video. Tell us your favorite moment from 2023, your favorite Magic related thing, your favorite play that happened in the game, the favorite way you punted, the favorite way you won, your favorite Magic moment of 2023, and also let us know what your favorite card printed in 2023 is. Do that, like and subscribe, and you will be automatically entered into the giveaway, and we will select a winner before our next video comes out the following week. We will reach out to you, and should we sign it?
Yeah, let's sign it. We'll both sign it.
Okay. We will send you a signed by both of us copy of the One Ring.
Hell yes. Just to be
That's
clear,
the giveaway.
Just to reiterate one more time. So what do you have to do? 1, you have to like this video. Number 2, you have to subscribe to our channel. Number 3, comment in the comments below exactly what Max said. Favorite moment in 2023, favorite card of 2023, and you will have a chance to get this card from us signed. Fucking exciting. So fucking exciting.
I love the One Ring. So exciting. And, one more time, 500 subscribers. That's really cool. And we're growing. We're not done yet. We're not even fucking close to done. You better get ready. Colors or Crutch is fucking coming. Colors or motherfucking Crutch, and we're coming for the colors.
Yeah.
My name is Max Sternberg, also known as Wounded Satellite, and I'm joined today by one of the most incredible human beings to ever exist on planet Earth, my wonderful co-host, Max P. the Italian Man, and we're joined by yet another incredible human being, the GOAT of CEDH of 2023, Comedian. How you doing today, Ian?
I'm good. How are you?
Ian, it's great to have you on the show, man. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I was literally gonna reach out and ask if you guys wanted to have me at some point, and then I think Max asked that week, and I was like, sick.
Awesome.
Worked out well.
Yeah. We are sponsored as always by Eminence Gaming.
Want to host the best CDH events in the world? I got the right software for you, Eminence Gaming and the Command Tower software. You want to be a TO? Have easy access to decklist submissions, player management, and just a few clicks of a button. And if your players want to see what they need, all they need to do is scan one QR code, and they have access to the bracket page. This will show them their live pairings and live round results, so they can be updated on how they're doing in the tournament. Make your tournament the best that it could possibly be with the Command Tower software.
Yeah, so here's what we're going to do. The three of us are going to kind of go through all of the sets of 2023 from beginning to end and talk about which cards had an impact on the format. We're specifically going to highlight the top 2 from each set, top 2 cards from each set, and then make some honorable mentions, and we'll just talk about these sets and what happened, and I think we'll have a good time. It's cool having Ian on the show just because I met Ian back in October of last year at Oktoberfest at my first tournament. It's kind of cool to go full circle from him being the content creator that I was listening to now having him on our show. So
yeah, it's pretty sick, man.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, literally our first game together, I was like, "Oh, this is someone I should be looking out for." So I'm glad that you're here.
Yeah, that was a crazy game.
Yeah.
So
yeah, my first ever game against Ian was my first ever top 4 from Chaos Treasure Series 3, and then we had a few other top 16 battles going into when we finally got to meet in person at SCG Con, and now we're buds. It's been fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
it's been cool.
Yeah, no, we played a lot before that point, I think. Well, I don't know about like a lot, but like we were definitely we were around each other a lot more before we actually like met.
Well, it was always top 16.
Yeah,
we had never had a Swiss round against each other. It was always our top 16 matches were against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is funny because I feel like lately we've been hitting each other in the Swiss a lot more.
Yep. Yes, we have.
Let's get this thing started. And
Well, whoa.
Okay.
We got to shout out Path to the Peak real quick because that was a really fun, really cool tournament this past weekend, which neither of us played in. Like I mentioned, I think recently, I am moving to Colorado next week, so I chose to hang out with some friends Saturday night, so I wasn't able to participate in the tournament. But when they discovered that I wasn't playing in the tournament, they decided to have me cast the tournament. So I cast the first 4 rounds of the event, which was a super fun time to do. Thank you so much for having me on. And I also got to watch all these people we know just do great. And similar to the experience with Mythic Lotus series, where it was a high density of quality players, Path to the Peak followed suit. It was really, really good players in every single round. All the pods you looked at, you knew a lot of the names that were there. So it was a really fun tournament, and a lot of our buddies did super well. I mean, Punchy, Step and Razor, Surge. Vincent killed it on Winota again. Like all of these kind of same consistent performers. TK from Playing with Power, who I've been working on with Kenan, did super, super great. So definitely want to shout out all those guys for like an awesome effort. And if I forgot your name, I apologize.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because it's only the second of the series, but it's kind of become the sort of go-to small online tournament that you can go to, right? Instead of the other ones are 100 people plus. This is the webcam small tournament, which I kind of like that. That's
And I have noticed, like, if you look at the meta for the Path to the Peak tournaments, it is very different than, like, the Chaos or Mox Masters meta that we've been experiencing. It is stacks. Like, there's a lot of stacks in the Path to the Peak meta.
Yeah. Path to the Peak is a very cool series. I think we'll see it continue throughout the year, and it'll probably grow in numbers a good bit. But I kind of like it this size. It's kind of cute. It's kind of a fun alternative to the giant tournaments, if you will.
Yeah, I mean they're rocking about 50 people that range the last 2. I know that Alex Accepted really wants it to hit that 60 player mark because then they qualify for the Top Deck Series range.
Right.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, so with that, why don't we jump into what we're doing? We're going to go through each set. The first set of the year was actually Phyrexia All Will Be One. And Ian, since you're the special guest, you want the honors to go through the top 2 of this set?
Yeah, so I mean it's kind of hard to argue, especially with our number 1, right? Like we have Atraxa, Grandine Fire here, right? So this is a card that obviously is now definitive in this format, right? Like one of the reasons we are calling this era of Magic Big Boy Winter, right? It's just like this is a chunky lad, and it's coming down, and it's for some reason these like semi-parasitic game styles are like really paying off for people, where you're just waiting to resolve this insane top end threat, and when it finally does, usually the game just immediately starts pivoting to Atraxa's favor, right? Drawing 5 to 7 cards as a one-sided effect is always pretty solid.
Yeah.
And
which if you want to hear us talk about Atraxa for like 15 minutes and how parasitic it is, feel free to go check out the most recent Mind Sculptors video where we broke down our top 10, and we definitely memed on it a bit, but it is an incredibly powerful card.
Yeah.
That I mean, as I've said there, it falls into 3 primary categories of what a commander could be, being awesome card advantage, a combo piece, and an outlet for a combo, which is to have all 3 is huge
for sure.
And it gives you this inevitability, and it does do the political thing of being parasitic, where it acts like it can help the table by getting Atraxa triggers or doing all of these very broad dominant effects.
Right.
And we joked about that. I'm gonna help by culling ritualing the void, but that's not really it's not really helping.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with the deck, right? Is like it's never like by parasitic, it's not like insinuating a negative thing about the deck, but like that is kind of how the situations it forces you into, which is like, yeah, let me help out by drawing 5 cards, and it's like, yes, that will technically allow you to deal with the stack, but then wait, you're the problem now.
Yeah. And it's funny because at Festival of Nights, I ended up forcing a draw with the threat of an Atraxa landing, and nobody knew what the cards could be, but just the fact that it could be anything and that the game could completely change at that point was enough to convince everyone to take a draw.
That's interesting.
So that the unknown there is powerful, right? And you can Atraxa is both powerful when you're playing it, and you can also sort of politic the table into being afraid of what could happen, or so there's a lot there. Yeah.
I think that is kind of because I have them rated very similarly, but when I look at the differences between Atraxa and Tivit, they follow overall very similar styles, but Tivit tends to be forced to be the police more, while Atraxa
Yes.
can just be more parasitic and sit back. And then when it comes to turning the corner on winning the game, while Tibet has this more like slow, grueling way of getting there, Atraxa is just like, guess I win.
Yeah. It almost sounds when you describe it that way that like Atraxa is almost strictly better. Like it's just the way
It is
like,
strictly better.
Well, but then like the downside, right, is that sometimes you're like, hey, I need a single counterspell to not die here, and Atraxa's like, nah, dog, don't look at me.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, really, the play pattern of, oh my god, I had this incredible nut start with the Jewel Lotus, I'm going to turn to Atraxa, and then you lose the game.
Yeah, and there was a moment in the middle of the year, I think, where Atraxa brewers were kind of looking at Tivit style stuff with like, Graph Digger's cages and, some of those stacks effects, even though, some sort of non-bows with some of the things that it's doing, but still, they were those effects are just so powerful that they were trying to do the same thing. So I think the comparison's pretty good. But
They're very comparable.
But the second card's not so clear, right? The second choice.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So we have Tyvar Jubilant Brawler here, which is like another really interesting piece. I mean, for Sisay, right? Like this was such a big pickup, and I know there's been some other strategies that have like appreciated this card, but like I definitely think like between Tyem and Sisay, like those decks really got a boost by Tyvar's printing.
Yeah.
So those are definitely the top two for Tyvar, and then the other one, it doesn't fall into a specific commander, but generically speaking, Hermit Druid strategy has got a huge boost from Tyvar.
Yeah.
Because Tyvar does,
right? But like, have you seen a Hermit Druid in the past 8 months?
I have. My buddy does it, but it's the fact that it fills two roles, because Tyvar by itself gives your Hermit Druid haste and then lets you downtick to get the Oracle back. So it's really powerful.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's a good card. I think if there like almost any other set this year, it probably wouldn't make number 2, but for this set specifically, I think, the other choices, and we'll go through them real quick. The first one's kind of interesting. I'm surprised you guys don't fight over this one. Armored Scrap Forger. Clearly the best card for Kennen.
It is. It is.
So,
Ian, this is my chance. Let me roast you for a second. Armored Scrap Gorger is an incredible magic card. It blocks Tymna. It doesn't die to Bowmasters. It's instant speed, repeatable graveyard hate. The card's amazing. Anyone who says it's bad just hasn't tried it, and I know that Ian hasn't tried it. So it's amazing. It's so good.
Yeah, that's why. Honorable mention. Moving on.
Okay.
Elish Norn, right? Elish Norn never really.
One of the most disappointing cards in the past 2 years, I think. Like, just really has not done anything nowadays, right? Like,
everyone was anticipating it being the most impactful card, and it just wasn't. Right.
Well, kind of all of these cards in the honorable mentions are like they see play in like at least one or two decks, but they're not anything that's considered a format staple.
Yeah.
I will say, I think the like underdog of the selection that people don't instinctively think of is the Edict, but that card has been showing up more and more. It's like quite strong. Children's Edict, to be specific.
Yeah.
We've been running it Italian, and it's been fantastic.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Every time I see it in like a black mid-range deck, I'm like, oh wow, that just like keeps being good. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's good at most points in the game because you're either in these matchups where you have a Sisay and a Kennen and they have a bunch of creatures on board and you wait for the Tivit player to cast their Tivit and then you edict it and that feels great. Or you have these situations where someone goes turn 1 Esper, turn 1 Birds of Paradise, turn 1 Ragavan, and then you just turn 1 Edict and say, okay, how about you guys all take a
I think even if you consider all the cards in this little list here, it's probably the best general card, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It sees the most play in the most decks. It's the most utility. Well,
I don't know about that. I think Skrelv actually probably sees more play than.
Well, Skrelv plays in what Sisay and.
I mean, like
Shalai
any creature deck nowadays. Like just because creature decks are taking a bit of an L lately. Yeah,
that's fair. Okay. But yeah, Skrelv is another one.
And then Albi-One is just Ob Nixilis.
Just Ob Nixilis,
it's so funny that some people think it's played in Shalai and Halar. I know I've been talking about this with Stepin, where people are talking about cards he could play and everyone's terrified of the Albi-One and they don't realize Shalai is the Albi-One, so you would never need the Albi-One. So that one's just one deck, it's Ob Nixilis. And then Soulless Jailer, which Soulless Jailer at certain times in the meta this year, I mean, back in July when it was like literally the tie-in meta, I was playing Soulless Jailer in my fucking Kennen deck to stop the tie-in matchup.
Yeah, it was also a really good Winota card. So when Winota was still,
I mean, it's insane in Winota.
Yeah. So Winota was still, a deck, and it's kind of, mostly dead at this point. Though there's little murmurings of it coming back a little bit, maybe. That card's just a house.
Yeah.
So if Winota gets a few more pieces and comes back to the forefront, I think we'll see it again.
If we breathe some life back into her, yeah. I mean, Soulless Jailer is like an uncuttable card in that deck, to be honest. Like the amount of curves that I would have where I would just be like, okay, cool, turn 1 Ancient Tomb, turn 2 piece of fast mana plus land, I Winota, right? Like those curves are so genuinely clean that like it made so many opening hands so good, and then your opponent's sitting there with a breach, like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're in a phase right now where someone in the card design team has a CDH Winota deck, and
Yeah. I agree.
Like,
yeah,
it's
have
kinda
you
wild how many
read
pieces-
Charismatic Conqueror? Like,
that card is crazy.
Yeah, so
Funny enough,
every
Charismatic
every
Conqueror-
set it gets like 2 or 3 new toys. It just
Yeah.
makes me so bad. It's just not fair.
Max, Charismatic Conqueror was one of the cards you made me cut from the set review, and at the end I was like, "Fuck you, I have to mention two more."
yeah.
All right. So that's it for. We got to keep moving. So that's it for All Will Be One. Moving on to the next set of 2023 was Mother of Machines. Max, you want to take this one?
Oh, I'd love to. One of my favorite cards that they've ever printed for my deck. This is number 1. We have Invasion of Ikoria, which is one of the greatest creature tutors to ever be printed into the format. It is essentially Finale of Devastation for non-humans, which the non-human clause in some decks is more important than others. When you're looking at a deck like Kinnan, it is meaningless and we don't give a shit. It just doesn't get trophies. When you're looking at a deck like Dargo Thrasios, it pretty much is meaningless and still gets everything you want. It doesn't get your Kinnan, but it gets your Dockside, it gets your Teamer Sabertooth, it gets your, whatever you need, not your Spellseeker. But it generally does what you need it to do, and the ability to get from the graveyard to the library is enormous. And what is so underrated about the card is how difficult it is to counter.
Yep.
So many counters in this format are instant
What? I
and sorcery
can't swan
counters.
song
Only
it?
an Invasion of Ikoria. You can't swan.
Why?
I've heard
You
that
can swan
so many
song-
times.
yeah.
I've heard those exact words so many times.
Yeah, like you can swan song my Nyxbloom Ancient and my Chimera, but you cannot swan song my Invasion of Ikoria, and it feels so good. And I love that it gets out of the graveyard. So I'm a huge fan of the card.
Yep.
It's played in obviously a ridiculous variety of decks.
Yep.
The decks that take advantage of it the least, I've found, are decks that are both white and green,
Yeah.
because there's so many white humans you want, like Draenith and Grand Abolisher, and it can't get those.
Yeah.
So it's a little weaker in Atraxa, and that's why I don't think you see it played in Atraxa. But like any deck,
Some lists are
that's-
still on it. I'm pretty sure.
some
a decent
might.
amount.
I know. I've been pushing. Like I know I was talking to Punchy. I've convinced him to try out Court of Calling instead. I was like,
Oh, yeah,
you
Court's
want to
sick.
get your other effects which better. Which I generally rank it as. I say Finale is the best one. I say
Yeah.
Court of Calling is actually the second best one in terms of its effect,
Mhm.
and then Invasion of Ikoria is number 3 for me. But it's a super powerful card.
Yeah.
It's going to continue to see play for a very long time.
Yeah, it's
and
very
I'm a
good.
huge fan of it.
And by the way, I have lost a game to it being flipped and just beating my face in.
Oh yeah, I have won games due to that. Are you kidding me, Sisse? It just chunks in for 2 hits and it's like, oh hey, I have an 8/8 now, and you're like, what?
But I block it. That doesn't
An
matter.
8/8.
Yeah.
Dude, people
That
don't
does
realize
nothing.
the thing is fucking reach. Too.
It's
It
insane.
has reach.
It's insane.
Oh, I didn't even know it has reach. That's
But
really
actually,
funny.
my favorite line for actually getting it for flipping it is I've played it, or I've spun into a Hullbreaker Horror or a Tidespout Tyrant in first main, and then I'll go to combat and swing at the battle, and then when it flips, it technically casts itself. And so I get a Tidespout trigger, so I can start.
That's
my league.
hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. And then the second one is.
Which we actually missed this one. This was very funny. I was talking to someone like 2 nights ago, and they were like, "Which cards did you pick for Mother Machines?" Because they were struggling to think of number 2.
Yeah.
And I ended up telling them that we had Fairy as number 2, and they were like, "How the fuck would it not be Hoarding
Right.
Broodlord?" And I immediately went through our list and realized that we forgot about the existence of Hoarding
Yep.
Broodlord.
Which is interesting, by the way, which is really interesting to me because, Hoarding Broodlord is, I think, underexplored. I mean, it's so powerful,
Yes.
and yet I don't see any decks really, taking advantage of it that are topping anything right now.
Well, here's the problem, though, right? Because every single time that the Hoarding Broodlord comes up, you go, well, isn't it worse than just playing Ad Nauseam Black? And most people say yes. That's the
Yes.
tough part about this card.
Yeah.
It kind of has been. I mean, there's certain decks, obviously, like if you're looking at something like Kalia, that can really take advantage of it. But the advantage of Hoarding Broodlord over a plan like Ad Nauseam really stems from the fact that you are on a reanimation strategy.
Right.
You don't want to be on pure reanimation solely for the Hoarding Broodlord, but if you're already doing Abdel, World Gorger, whatever types of things,
Sure, yeah.
adding in the Hoarding Broodlord is such an easy one-card inclusion, plus Sonhap, plus whatever, but like all of those cards have additional utility. I can say Sonhap has been a card that has consistently impressed me, and I have no qualms with putting in the package in almost any deck that plays Dockside. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I will
And the
also
fact that it's a dragon. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say it's also like one of the most interesting innovations I've seen this year was when there was the Neoform Atraxa deck that would Neoform Atraxa into Broodlord and then combo off from there, which I always thought was very cool.
Right.
Did you ever have Sapper tell you the whole line?
No.
So I actually this is cool enough that I'll fucking shout out here. I made him explain it to me because it's kind of crackhead wild.
Yeah.
So what you do is you Neoform Atraxa for Broodlord.
Sure.
Broodlord ETB, search for Sonhalf. Sonhalf hoarding Broodlord, get Sacrifice and Yawgmoth's Will. Convoke Sacrifice, get +8 black. Convoke Yawgmoth's Will, +6 black remaining. Cast Sonhalf from graveyard, target remaining Broodlord token, +3 black remain. ×2 Broodlord token, searches for Beseech the Mirror and Demonic Consultation. Convoke Beseech the Mirror, search for Thassa's Oracle, bargain a token, remain Demonic Consultation.
Holy shit.
And he came up with that.
Good for you, man. That's sick.
That was so sick. That's so sick.
I mean, you lose one of those pieces and you can't win the game, but like, good for you.
Yeah, blow yourself out pretty hard too, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the first message I sent him was, "You never do this without a silence effect, right?" And he said 100%.
But I'm also 100% gonna brew up another Tassicker list because there's got to be a way, right? There's got to be a way to push this in there.
Yeah,
got to be.
Well, I feel like there's also like Dargo plus green. So I guess Jund Dargo has like always traditionally been a Razaketh deck when that's very antithetical to what the deck actually wants to do. Whereas I feel like, EEing or potting into a Broodlord is like way more digestible,
That makes sense.
Is it though? Because I mean, the advantage of the Razaketh lines in Dargo is that you can, like, a Jewel Lotus is 3 tutors. It's like kind of insane because you Razaketh, sacrifice your Dargo, and then it's just 1 red to keep tutoring through your deck.
Yeah, no, that's very valid. I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. So.
But yeah, I mean, the honorable mentions for this one, we actually have a lot of really cool commanders here. For commanders, you get Heliod the Radiant Dawn, Shalai and Halar, Atali Primal Conqueror, who have all been like successful commanders that have usually had a top 16. And then lesser known but still included legends that I've seen a little bit of. You get Drano Limbala, which is more of a 99 card, and Thalia and the Gitrog Monster, which like immediately got put on the database and seemed like it was going to be a deck, and then I just have not seen him forever. And then for role players, you get Fairy Mastermind, which obviously sees a good amount of inclusion. It would probably be if Hoarding Broodlord wasn't there on number 2. And Phyrexian Censor, we got the 6th Rule of Law effect, and a pretty powerful one. Making things come into play tapped as well as being a Rule of Law has made it pretty good in decks like Elevir and Winota, where now you just can't hold up your blockers. That option.
Here's the problem with Phyrexian Censor, and this is the reason I don't play it in Winota, is that it's actually too good. Is that it makes creatures come in tapped, right? So unless you're playing the Maratium version of the deck, which is all just punchy face, right? Like every single haste enabler in Winota is shut off.
Right.
Every single one. Every Kiki combo, every haste enabler, all of it is just useless.
It's a super non-bo.
It's a super non-bo with like half of the strategies to the deck. So as much as I respect a Rule of Law effect, right, that one in particular is actually too effective.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Really good in Elevir and really good in Time.
The other interesting card in that list that you mentioned briefly is Drama and Linvala, and that's another one that I think, I'm surprised. I'm surprised it hasn't seen more play. I guess it's just kind of awkward coloring,
The hard part about this, because I've sorry to cut you off, I played a lot of this card. When it came down, it was so good. Like, when it actually hit the battlefield, it was insanely powerful. But the problem with the card is the fact that the white-black +1 is such an inorganic and offensive cost to most decks that it, like, actually resolving that card and having it stick around and casting it while you're trying to curve out through the rest of your list is just, like, it's not an easy casting cost. And therefore, it would throw off your whole curve. You'd have to basically time walk yourself to play it, when instead you can incidentally play a Curse Stone with a Mana Crypt 90% of the time. It's like, okay,
juice is not worth the squeeze, as you say, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you did land it in the first ever game I played against you when you were on Sisay. Which felt terrible. Thanks for that.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, the games I played it, once again, like, I copied a Spellskite one game. I used it to be someone else's Ranger captain. Like, the card did stupid stuff, right? But like, it also was just impossible to get out.
I did play it against Tyam, Zen on Tyam one game, and it was a Tyam. It was a Wall of Roots. It was everything. And I literally won, basically playing Tyam with this one card. It was ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Ridiculous. All right, moving on to Mom Aftermath, Martial Machines Aftermath. This was a tiny set, and as a result, there just wasn't that many great cards in it. But there were some really big notable ones. The number one, obviously, in my mind at least, is Obnixilis, which is a commander that has put up results at this point. It has shown up. It has done well. It's the Rakdos deck that made it into the database.
Dude,
Deep breath.
Yeah, it's the Rakdos deck that made them change their tune on never adding a Rakdos Turbonauts deck again. And let me tell you, I am back on an Ob grind this last week. I've been playing a lot of Obnixilis again. Oh my god, it feels so good. The deck is actually cracked.
Yeah, it's
like you can win from any position at any time, and the amount of just ridiculous fucking card advantage you get still blows my mind.
It's almost as good as Florian. It's really up there. Like I give it a lot of credit. And then number 2 is Samut, which to me is like the most powerful card Najeela could have gotten, in a long time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it literally fixes the Najeela problem, right? Like Najeela's entire problem is like it is a do nothing commander apart from putting bodies on the board, right? And then Samut was like, okay, but now you actually have card efficiency, and I was like, excuse me,
yeah.
What did you say about that deck?
Yeah, exactly.
No, Samut is one of those cards that it was printed. I looked at it, I read it again, I read it a third time, and I just said, why the fuck would you print this? Like, in what way would this ever be used healthily?
Yeah.
In what world? Could this ever be a healthy card? It's kind of.
I heard angels singing in German. I heard Memo's voice. Singing praises just of joy. It's just such a good card for Najeela specifically.
Yeah, and because all Najeela pilots' brains when tutoring needed to consider was, do I get Derevi or do I get Samut?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
that's the thing is like the definitive card that used to be like, okay, what is this mid-range Najeela or is this Turbo Najeela? Used to always be like, oh well, are they playing Toski? And then they were like, haha, Toski, you've been invalidated. Get out of here.
Right. Yeah. Very good card. And then we only have one honorable mention, and this is really kind of a love shout out to Kai, Fervent Alchemist, for his Narset Enlightened Exile build. He really put that commander on the map. He's put up multiple results with it. The deck is just sick. Sometimes it confuses me, but it he makes it work.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've been playing a lot with it lately. Actually, it's kind of like one of my side projects right now. My build is like a little bit different than Kai's, but the central conceit being the same. Of like, yeah, you're just your fancy turbo nods, or I mean, your fancy turbo breach, I should say.
Yeah. I'd be curious how close our lists are because mine is also very different than Kai.
Yeah. It's weird. Like I'm also playing the mill crabs in the deck, which is pretty fun.
Oh yeah. I like that. I like that actually. Yeah.
Wizards said they were going to stop like fire printing text on cards, and then I read Narset and I'm like, no, you're not. You're still doing it. Like, why does this have so many abilities, and why do they get better the more times you
because
read
it's fun. It's fun.
She could have had Ward. It's fine. Like
it's a good time. I like it.
Wait, it gives all your creatures prowess?
Yeah, it's sick.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right. And that's it for Mom. And then we go to, in my opinion, the most impactful set of the year by far. It's not even close.
Oh, yeah. Not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah, Ian, this one's all yours, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, we talk about Lord of the Rings here, right? Like this Tales of Middle-earth was just like absolutely insane, right? Like it had several cards. And the funny part is like some of the cards that people were talking about being definitive in the set are the supplemental cards in the set, right? But I mean, obviously number 1, Bowmasters, right? Like it has drastically shifted the shape of CEDH, right? All creature strategies just immediately took an arrow to the knee. And they just, I mean, like it invalidated several decks. It removed several decks from meta play. Like we're still talking about how people are like treating the card incorrectly nowadays in modern metagames, and it's still being done because it's such a tempting way to play it, right?
Right.
It's I don't know, like the 2-mana flash efficiency, the fact that it's an ETB, the fact that it then like turns the game into how many clones can I play to copy your Bowmasters to ping your Bowmasters so that I have a Bowmasters, and it's like, Jesus, how often are we gonna do this little circus?
Yeah, I seem to remember somebody just winning a tournament basically on the back of this
for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I've had so many tournament games recently that is just someone innocuously plays a Bowmaster on turn 2 to like kill an Esper Sentinel, and then it doesn't go away for the entire game, and then at some point the token's like 20 plus power, and it just murders people. And it's I'm at this point I hate the card. It's significantly better than I originally thought it was going to be. It is played absolutely toxically.
Yep.
I stand by forever that it shouldn't have the ETB, and it should only be able to target the person who drew a permanent they control. I hate the card. I hate everything about it at this point, and I want it gone so bad. And that's not just because I play green, but it's just,
I said it from the very minute, like, it was printed, that, like, it's not that I think it is explicitly broken like Hull Breacher was. I just think the play patterns are so unhealthy for the metagame that it would just be better with it gone, right? Like, once again, this is Max just said I took advantage of it in a recent tournament and used it for success, and I would like it not to be here anymore.
Yeah,
like
that's this is one where I'll disagree with both of you, and I love the card. I think it's great, and it gets messy, and I know it creates these really weird games where there's this whole other political landscape that comes into existence because of one card, and
right,
those games are problematic, I admit, but I like the card itself. I like the way it works most of the time. It does become cancer sometimes, though. I will admit that. yeah.
Bowmaster is just the New York Yankees.
I mean, all you need, just to balance it out, you need a card that draws cards and gives you protection, and then it's fine, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All you need to do is make deals in tournaments for them to not ping you with the Bowmaster triggers.
Exactly.
Tilted.
Yikes. Yeah. So number two is
the One Ring.
Hell yeah.
Is number 2. I mean, this card's sick, right? Like, it comes down, it's definitive in every color because it's a colorless card. It's card advantage in every color. And it is one of those cards that I think Max has also said this earlier in the episode, but like it's like an inevitability engine, right? It basically dictates that, like, by the third activation, you are the problem at the table. And then if you're not the problem at the table, immediately following that, you untap and you're then the problem at the table. And then if they stop you again, you then untap and you're the problem at the table. And you never stop being a problem. And it's insane, truly.
Yeah. And dude, it works with Seaborn Muse.
Yeah.
If you play the One Ring and Seaborn on the same turn, you draw 15 cards by your next turn. And if you play One Ring, Seaborn, and Manamo, you draw 55 cards by your next turn.
Yeah.
I actually think, like, it as one card made Shurikai, like, kind of valid again as a deck.
Yeah, and yet still it hasn't been picked up that much.
Derevia deck.
Yeah, I haven't seen that much of it, though.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that much of Derevia.
I mean, way more than it has.
Yeah.
Well, there's some Derevi decks now that have been haunting around.
I have not seen Derevi yet. Well, here's the problem, right? Because every time Derevi hits somebody and untaps the One Ring, and then they activate it, then the Bowmasters comes down and shoots down all the creatures that just untapped with Derevi.
I mean, the one thing though, there are these situations where, like,
that's why Bowmasters is a good card, guys. It's a good card. We need it.
No.
We need it.
It's not healthy.
We need it.
It's not healthy. But really, like, the One Ring did resurge a lot of archetypes. Where, I mean, it made Derevi a deck again. It made Thought Odell potentially be a Copium deck.
Yeah.
It made Shurikai a deck again. Like, it did add a new part to the format that I think was a positive for the format, where it did bring these new decks into it.
Yeah.
And sure, it's really good in some decks that are already good. Obviously, I think the only tier, like S tier deck that got to take advantage of it in a broken way really was Kinnan, so no complaints. But because we're the only Seaborn deck that's like
so
far.
But yeah,
right now.
Yeah.
Right now. But, like, yeah, the card is incredible. Also, Helion's a really good deck with it as well because they're playing all, like, the Manifold Keys. It gave card advantage to a lot of decks that needed it. Like Godo and stuff like that. Like, now they have this thing they can get that lets them stay in the game, and I think that that's a positive.
It's also huge for low color blue decks that, like, lacked that fundamental card draw that, like, was only reliant on Rhystic and Mystic that they can never tutor for, right? So, like, now they have this thing that they can actually go actively find that allows their game plan to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made artifact tutors be a lot more prominent. Which
it's also a little bit of a trap sometimes too, in that you tap out for the One Ring, your pants are down, and then Rogsai goes for the win, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be contextually aware of what
that
the
is the
game
one
is.
downside of the card, like, for real, is that kind of play pattern, and specifically because in my opinion, it vaguely discourages some of the more unique win cons in the format that are damage based, right? So like a lot of, like, the turn sideways decks, the infinite damage decks, right? Those are not the decks that we see as, like, oh, this deck's back again, right? Like, we're seeing those decks are Breach and Thoracle and stuff like that, right? So when you have scenarios where the One Ring's not particularly, like, the protection ability doesn't particularly hose on some of the more forward strategies in the format right now, so therefore it's like that's my knock against
No,
it, right?
I
is that it
agree.
didn't exactly help.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it hurts Malcolm decks a little bit. It can
Right,
make Tivit
right.
wins a little difficult.
Well, there's some other
Like, it definitely
there's some
does.
other corner cases too, like things like the Teferi mono blue deck. All of its win conditions focus on being able to target every player, and you play a
Yep.
One Ring, they literally can't win on their explosive turns. Like, so there are a lot of decks like that have these sort of off the beaten path win cons that just don't work through a One Ring.
Yeah.
But I think that's okay. Like, I would be fine if the One Ring didn't have the protection ability. That's not what I care about with the card.
Yeah,
But,
no,
like,
absolutely.
yeah,
I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
It would have made
You
it.
just have to wait a turn.
Yes.
Well, without
but-
protection, it also would have been like healthier for the other formats, like modern and stuff.
Yes,
I
agreed.
think would have been a lot better without the protection ability. But I love the card. I do remember early on when it first came out, overvaluing the protection. I was in one game where I was against. It was specifically against Shiver on Timna Jessica. And I had the option of doing one or two things. I decided to go to the One Ring plan when I probably should have gone a different route, thinking the protection would guarantee I got another turn against his deck. And he ended up going on this fucking crazy Infinite Treasure Dockside line with Breach, where then he was able to untap and get rid of and recast Bolas's Citadel 3 times to drain me out with the tap ability. It was like, which that was a sick line. I'll never forget that loss. That was a cool one.
Yeah. And I think all of the honorable mentions here are also pretty powerful cards for the most part.
So many.
Like the first one's Boromir, Warden of the Tower, which is basically just a better Lavinia, in my opinion, although a little bit more costed. The ability that it can sacrifice itself so get out of the way and not cause the Teferi problem where no one can interact but you, right?
Yep.
So just a great card. And I think that's one that I think is finally starting to catch up. I'm seeing it in a lot more decks now. I think when it first got out, it was criminally underplayed, and that's kind of corrected itself now.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, the ability to sacrifice is huge. Just
think-
like giving your opponents the window to interact.
Yeah.
But I think since Waffle started playing in a blue farm, it's kind of caused a resurgence for it a little bit.
I will say it being a 3-drop has definitely made some awkward timing things with it, right? Like, yes, if you get Mana Crypt, it's perfect, right? But that's not always the case.
Right. And I still think there's room to explore it because I think there's some decks that need protection. That this can bring protection to let you white green decks, white red green,
Yeah.
those kind of color combinations that don't have the access to counter spells.
Well, because it comes off almost like a defensive spell, right? But there are times when you're like, yeah, I would love to shut off your free interaction for my combo. Thank you so much for asking.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it also it does the almost trickery with that worse because the positive thing about Lavinia was always like, oh, you literally can't cast your Nas. So I can argue that this piece exists on the battlefield as a way to really stop you, and I don't care about it helping me.
Right.
Versus Boromir doesn't have that tech, so it's much more just sure you can't cast your LED, but also you can't counter my stuff. So Boromir is much more self-protection focused rather than true stacks, though it does obviously hit on the mana crypts and such.
Yeah. Next one. I thought it was going to take off a little bit more, but I think with Najila kind of falling off in recent months, I think that's kind of where it went. Maybe, I don't know.
Which is crazy because I feel like this card helps that.
Yeah,
You know what I
agreed.
mean?
It gives a whole new strategy. Like the beatdown strategy just becomes that much more powerful. This is Flowering of the White Tree that we're talking about. I thought we'd see a lot more of it, and I just haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Najila's a hard deck to go double white early.
And that's the problem with the card, I find. Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what happened with Sisei, too. It was like, on paper, it's perfect for Sisei, right? Like, it just it cost double white. And those curves were awkward.
Yeah.
Well, the crazy thing with Sisei, though, is it enables you to get a 2-drop that's essentially +3 power, which is really nice.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And then this card is, like, really difficult to keep out of the top 2. Right, Born Upon a Wind.
Yeah,
I was surprised. Yeah. To me, it's like it definitely is. If this was a hard 3 per, this is 3. Right?
Yeah,
like,
easy,
100%.
easy. Yeah,
100%.
Card's broken.
I mean, yeah, Born Upon a Wind, it's a card that is gaining more and more respect, and I'm seeing it being played in more and more strategies that, like, you wouldn't expect it to be played. Like, obviously, with the Nas decks and the decks that could do, breach lines, it makes a lot of sense that just going innocent speed, you don't care what turn it is, whatever. But it's also, the way it enables Necropotence lines, wild.
Insane.
Really helped out a lot of strategies, like Zerd the Enchanter's back because of Born Upon a Wind. It did really bring those back. But even, like, people are playing this shit in Kinnan now. You know what I mean? I was literally just on the phone with Hire, and he's like, all I want to do is do instant speed lines right now. That is how I'm winning every game, because it lets you just hold up all your mana and then win whenever the window is best. And that's super, super powerful. So Born Upon a Wind being something that, like, you don't have to use a land drop on some colorless land to gain access to this effect, which used to be kind of the hindrance with Emergent Zone. Now just making it a spell where not only does it function to let you win the game, but what's so important with these niche spells is if they can just cycle. So the opportunity cost of playing them is so low. Because if you need another card, you can get another card.
I
also like the.
Go ahead, Ian. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the top deck tutor potential with Born Upon a Wind is also kind of crazy, right? Like I had a game where I had a Italian trigger on the stack, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna win right now, actually." And I just like mystical tutored Born on top of my library, you know, and like just let the trigger resolve in one on top of like an entirely insane stack. And I was like, "Yeah, this is the fact that it's just like something I can go snag right now." Oh, okay, cool. Let me just throw it on here.
Yeah, the fact that it's a cantrip, just like really, that's insane. Yeah, exactly.
I assume you're talking in Tevish Crom, right?
This was, I believe it was Crom Francisco in that iteration, but yeah.
But yeah, so that Grixis WinCon deck uses that really, really well.
Yeah, I built Zane's Rogside deck, and I got to do a turn 1 Necropotent into a Born Upon a Wind the other day, and it's like, it's like drugs, man. It's such an experience to be able to do that. Like, you understand very quickly when you see these Rockside players and they're mulling, and you know what they're looking for. You know, they're looking for that hit of that drug, which is Born Upon a Wind Necropotence. Just amazing.
No, but actively, like the strategy with Necro right now is like take 10. They're like, okay, play Necropotence, take 10. All you're looking for is a tutor to get born, and then you do all your life the next turn.
Yep. It's insane.
I also have seen a lot of Rockside players win on top of a lethal One Ring and or Pack Trigger.
Yep.
It also, one of the best things about Born Upon a Wind is kind of this new play pattern where you can silence someone offensively as a counterspell and then wait till your silence resolves and then do your born.
I've seen Jorman do that
a really good line. Jorman did that. I was talking to Waffle about that line last night. Like, that's something I think we're going to see a lot more of, where people, because I know with Jorman literally, I believe, told them, like, hold up, let me go first. You know, let my thing be the bottom thing on the stack. And he just went for the silence. Like, he just broke priority on it to do it because he wanted the silence to resolve. But it was in this position where it looks like he's using it as a counterspell, which is so perfect.
Yep.
And Jorman kind of cracked.
Exactly. So next card, this is an interesting one for me. I don't love this card, but I understand why people play it, and that's Lorien Revealed. I don't get it.
Yeah. Honorable mention.
Yeah. A lot of people swear by this card. It kind of reminds me of like a bad Tithe, right? Like, okay, all right, it fixes some opening hands to some extent, but I'd rather just have a land, honestly.
I think the card is trash, but a lot of people play it, so it's here.
All right, I think we said enough about that. The next one is maybe one of my favorite cards, Stern Scolding. I think that card's still better than people realize and still is underplayed. One of the things about playing Talion is learning to, instead of interacting with everything, you got to interact with specifically what wins the game or is too powerful, like a Grand Abolisher, right? And Stern Scolding just fits that niche perfectly.
I stand by my initial evaluation of the card where I said this is a powerful counterspell that is amazing at interacting for tempo. And the problem is when you're looking at decks that are in like the 9 to 12 or 13 counterspell range, they're not interacting for tempo. They're interacting to protect or stop win conditions. And Stern Scolding generically is not that. Will it sometimes stop a Grand Abolisher or a Thoracle or a Dockside? Yes. Is there bound to be a target in the game that it hits? Yes. But is it what you normally want to be doing with your counter magic? I don't think so, because it doesn't protect you as well. And when you're that low on counter magic in that range, you need your counter magic to protect you as well. So I think the decks that really showcase Stern Scolding are the decks like Talion and Niv Mizzet, these decks that run ridiculously large interaction packages that will naturally draw more cards in their normal game progression, and that allows you to refill and interact for tempo, so it's not really a hindrance to do that.
I think that was literally the perfect way to summarize that.
I guess why run 13 counter spells when you could run 18?
Right, if you're commander draws cards, do anything. You know what I mean?
More is more, man. More is more. More counter spells is better. All right. Speaking of counterspells not being counterable, Delighted Halfling. You play that in Kitten, right? Don't you?
Ian does. I don't.
I do.
I've been
yes.
considering trying it out again. Did you play it, right?
Yes, I do. I like to
Yeah,
maximize the 1-2 curve of Kinnan a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good card. Like it does the thing. You know what I mean? I've been considering it, adding it in the beginning. The fact that it is a 1/2 and came out in the Bowmaster time, kind of perfect for a lot of people. And especially now that we are moving into big boy winter, it's kind of nice to have your big boys not be countered.
Yeah, I think it's a good card, but I don't play a lot of greens. So it's kind of hard to evaluate for me. The fact that it's like it adds colorless instead of adding color most of the time. I don't know. I have to try it. I ordered a Kinnan deck. It's on its way, but it doesn't have Halfling in it. But I could swap it in and try it out. So
Generically solid mana dork and really, really important in Atraxa and Rocco. I would say are the main two. Do you play? You don't play it in Sisay, right? Because it doesn't make the color pip for the activation.
So it's a trap I find a lot of Sisay players falling for is that card, but I do not play it myself.
Yeah, I mean you don't want to cast your legends from hand, so like why would you?
Yes, exactly, and also activating Sisay is hyper important for the deck.
Yep. Yeah, but if you have Agatha and Soul Cauldron,
I do love the balance of the set though. Like just it seems to be that the cards that came out for CDH do a good job balancing each other out. Stern Scolding, Delighted Halfling, those kind of counterpoint off each other, right? All the spells that you would counter with Stern Scolding, Delighted Halfling protects, right? That kind of thing. And Orcish Bowmasters in the One Ring, those two together. I like how they. I don't know if they did this on purpose. They probably didn't, but there's some cool balance there. I like that.
Yeah, and
I mean the one thing I will say. Yeah. When you look at the set in total, though, and we're looking at all of our honorable mentions and cards that we've included, like this set was so incredibly powerful for Esper.
Yes.
Like Esper color combinations are what got the biggest boost, and then you get Delighted Halfling for green, and our next one, Mount Doom, was just a very nice land to have.
I love Mount Doom. I've used that card so many times.
Mount Doom's great.
It's like a free board.
I also think this is the best set for Blue Farm maybe in the past 3 years. I don't know if you guys noticed, but like the rate at which that deck was always considered quote the best deck by a lot of people, but at least some people in the format would like sort of cock an eyebrow at it, right? Now it's like pretty clear that deck is like in the same way that we consider Kinnan like an S tier deck. Like it is an S tier deck, right? Like it is not just the A plus of decks. It is something above, because it is genuinely like, I mean, Born Upon a Wind was a fantastic addition than all playing, but like Bowmaster specifically was the one thing that can like stop the Tymna plan, but guess what, you get to play it too, right? Just like all little things like that are I think is this set changed the landscape. And also a lot of the things that made Blue Farm look bad got hated out of the format by Bowmasters.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I'm pretty sure if you go and look at the numbers, Blue Farm has surged ever since the release of the set.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. This set was a big shot in the arm for that direction.
Yeah, I agree. And Lotho is also a card that got right in there. That card's also incredibly powerful, and in line with the balance, it's a 2/1, so it does die to the Bowmaster. But it's great card, really powerful. One of my favorite cards to clone when I'm playing Talion, because it generates so much mana. Like people don't realize how much mana it generates. Card's great, really good.
The very funny thing about Lotho is the deck that I think got the biggest boost from its printing was actually Ob Nixilis, because it gave Ob Nixilis a Crom that everyone else has.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, I haven't seen it that much lately though. I don't know, maybe it's just like purely coincidence, but I haven't seen Lotho as much lately.
I think it's people are recognizing the variance in the card, and I think that's turning people off to it.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think there's a lot, at least from what I've been hearing, like there's people have been noticing like, oh hey, like definitely has games where it doesn't do a lot, and also people are very sensitive to X1s nowadays.
Yeah, or it just dies instantly.
Yeah, I mean it dies. Yeah. It dies immediately, but it also, it depends on the meta. Because if you're in these more stacksy, slowed down metas, there's less spells per turn being cast, versus the turbo metas where it's like, I get 3 treasures immediately by my next turn, which is really nice. I do want to shout out the good thing about Mount Doom, where I think obviously it has some niche things like, it gives you an infinite damage in a deck like Sisay. But what was really nice about it for the turbo strategies like Rogsai, it was pretty much the swap for Psychrift, because Psychrift was always this like necessary evil within the strategy, where it gave them a board wipe that could also bounce a single thing, but it was overcosted and they kind of hated having it, and it was never something they were really happy to draw early. It was a tutor target. Mount Doom is a land that's a tutor target that Silas is a legendary artifact for, and just lets them have that same 7 mana board wipe on a much easier, more palatable card.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I've whipped the board so many times with that card in CSA, it's insane.
Flooring has saved my ass over and over again. I'm telling you, over and over.
Dude, I was playing Talion 2 nights ago, and my guy he tried to bowmaster my board down when I tried to draw a bunch of Talion, and I hit him with Shauna's Tidebinder. And then this following turn, he was like, okay, he cast a Silas and he activated Mount Doom, and I hit him with the Trick Bind, and he just like threw his hand on the
Love it.
Amazing.
Love it. All right. Moving on from clearly the best set of the year for CDH, we go to one of the more minor ones, and that's the Wilds of Eldraine. Max, you wanna go through the top 2 from this one?
Oh yeah, I mean the first card from this side is fucking like one of those cards again. I think about like, why the fuck did you print this? The first card is Beseech the Mirror, which I don't think I have ever seen it cast without it being bargained. Have you guys ever seen it cast without being bargained? Yeah. You've done it once, and it feels bad, maybe.
Oh, yeah, I got a Hullbreaker Horror, though, so I felt okay.
Okay,
that seems fine. It seems fine.
It's like, it's 1 mana worse Grim Tutor in that. Yeah. Like, that's not even that bad. And you look at the mana cost of certain things. You look at something like Flower of the White Tree, and you're like, oh my god, you have to fetch out 2 white sources. That's really difficult. But you look at a cost like Beseech the Mirror, and you say, oh, we're in a format that has Dark Ritual and Cabal Ritual. Yes. This is very easy to accomplish. And it is almost too easy to accomplish. And sure, there's certain cards at 5 CMC and above that you don't want to get, but the ability to have the flexibility to get whatever you need for that situation and to immediately cast it. And it also breaks the generic tutor, I think, I don't know what to call it, heuristic maybe, where a lot of people are like, oh, don't counter the demonic tutor, counter what comes next. With Beseech the Mirror, you are often put in these very hard to know positions, because if someone casts a demonic tutor, you can look at what mana they have left and try and predict what they're going to do. But if someone casts a Beseech the Mirror, it doesn't matter what mana they have left, they can get anything. And they could be getting a Grand Abolisher or a Ranger Captain or an Underworld Breach or a Thassa's Oracle. And that's so strong and so hard to deal with that it also means you sometimes need to hit the tutor. I mean, the card's a staple. I play it in 2 decks right now, and it is a card I am always happy to see. I have never been upset by what it's done. It kind of sucks when you get got by a silence, but you're like, okay, I still get the card to my hand, so whatever.
Yeah. I will say it's
great.
It's not perfect in every deck. I think there are definitely like certain decks where you will not have the triple black all the time. There are certain decks where you will not have the ability to sack all the time.
Right.
And in those decks, it might be a bit more of an asterisk on the card, but in the decks where it's good, it is exceptionally good.
I give Wizards some credit in this card too. The design's pretty good. I mean, it's well costed.
I love the design.
It's well costed. Yeah. The fact that the cards you get it doesn't come into play. It's an actual cast, right? So there's an opportunity to interact there. It's just a well-designed card, and they could have easily screwed it up, and they didn't. It's a great card. I like this card a lot.
I agree with all that.
Yeah.
I think that,
And
the ability to hitting the 0 drops is always just a cool thing to bring to the format.
Yes. And then number 2 is clearly the best card ever printed, right?
I think it was tough between number 2 and our top honorable mention. I did have some conversations with people about it. We ended up coming so the reason so the conversation
I actually think our honorable mention is I think it goes like Talion, honorable mention, Beseech, to be honest. That's my hot take. Yeah.
You think Beseech is number 3?
Yeah. Interesting.
So so realistically, this is one of those sets that have like almost an even 3, where our second top 2 card that we put is Talion the Kindly Lord, which we'll get into in a second, and our top honorable mention is Agatha Soul Cauldron.
Yeah.
And I think what I've heard and the discussions I've had with people this week when I was talking about which top cards from certain sets, we kind of came to this agreed conclusion that the view of Agatha's Soul Cauldron might be slightly too high because people are being biased, because we're only talking about CDH right now, but Agatha's Soul Cauldron has had such a profound effect on a multitude of formats. And so the generic biased opinion of Agatha's is probably that it's better than it is when you're looking at solely CDH, where I think overall Talion sees play in more decks and has had a more wide effect, and I would agree with Beseech fitting into that same mold, while Agatha's is incredibly busted in very specific CDH decks, but sees less overall play than either of the other 2 cards.
I don't think Beseech sees as much play as you are claiming it does.
I play against it all the time.
Yeah, I think you play against certain archetypes all the time.
That's fair.
Well, I think there's going to be a bit of a shift here too, because I think Agatha's still very underexplored. I think we're going to see a lot more of it as people figure it out a little bit. And I think it's also extremely likely that we see printings of cards that take advantage of it more.
Yeah.
So I think Agatha's, in that honorable mention spot for now, but I think if we had this conversation 6 months from now, it might be completely different.
Yeah, Agatha's is more likely to get better with more stuff being
Agreed.
printed,
Oh,
I think.
explicitly. Yeah.
And Talion is just broken. Obviously I'm biased, but I love the card.
No, I love Talion. No, I think we're all. This is a podcast full of Talion stands right now.
Hell yeah.
Tamtar.
Hell yeah.
Tamtar.
The other two honorable mentions are just, they're interesting cards. They're commanders that I think we'll see a little bit more of, not a lot more of. And that's Elevir of the Wild Court and Rowan, Sign of War. Elevir, we've seen some. Rowan, people got really excited about that card, and then it's kind of died off.
It is the most overhyped card I have ever seen that I think is just not good.
Yeah, I'll be totally honest. As a Rakdos fiend, I don't like the card at all. When you play Rakdos, you're playing a bit of a glass cannon already. This is like taking that and putting it on steroids. I mean,
it's like, hey, you remember the last cannon that broke? Well, we used masking tape to put it back together. Is that okay?
Exactly. And you put poison on all of the glass shards just to make sure.
I think Rowan is better than we're giving it credit for, though. My experience with Rowan so far, playing against it and goldfishing it and working on it with a couple of people, the deck is insanely powerful. I think the real thing holding it back right now is you look at Elevir, the Wild Court. It has this developing Discord with me and a few other people really working on the deck and putting significant time into fleshing it out. And Rowan just doesn't have that.
But I don't know that's true. I've heard a lot of people talking about this deck and a lot of people trying to brew it when it first came out, and it's all of them fizzled real hard.
Right, but they haven't continued to work.
Well, I think the only reason it'll see any success is also because of that, because it needs Brewer's Advantage. Because if anyone knows what it's trying to do, it's so easy to blow it out completely. So,
I mean, I don't even want to know what it's trying to do. I'm still just not going to let it have anything.
Well, that's the thing, right? If it didn't say, I mean, the activating at sorcery speed part is so bad.
Yeah.
That line of text is actual dog shit. I get that you don't want to do that, but maybe say activate only on your turn, because the fact that you can't even you go to pay 3 life, and now because the phrasing of that text, your opponents can go cool in response to you, or in response to not paying 3 life, but something that's spell, you lose 2 life, draw a card or whatever, right? In response to that, your opponents can just kill Rowan.
Yep.
It does not matter what else is going on, right? And that sucks.
Oh, you're paying a bunch of life?
You're
paying a bunch of life? Oh, I know what you're doing. Yeah, let's get rid of Rowan right now.
Well, no, imagine if a line existed in the deck, which would be so powerful if it could activate only on your turn at instant speed, like Wishclaw text, which I genuinely believe they need to explore the Wishclaw text more. I think that was an awesome
agree with
but
that.
Imagine,
yes, agree.
Imagine if you could do a line with Rowan where you're looking at all of these stacks pieces on the board stopping you, and you could go, okay, I'm going to cast Toxic Deluge, paying 10 life. In response to my Deluge, I'm going to tap my Rowan.
Yeah, that would be
so
card.
powerful. Yeah. That would be so powerful.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I don't think that's even so powerful. I think that would make it playable. I think it needs that to just be playable, period.
100% agree. 100% agree. The way it is right now, it's completely unplayable in my opinion. And I advise people against it, because the worst thing I could imagine is some new player steps in, picks up Rowan, does the thing, gets really excited, and then just gets completely blown out. They're like, this sucks. I don't like CEDH.
I do like that the Rowan deck that's had the most success, though, is a fucking crazy Dragon Storm.
Oh, it's Dragon Storm. Yeah. You gotta love the Japanese meta, though, because they're always on some shit.
Yeah. All right. So,
which I know we didn't really talk about Talion at all, but literally we've talked about Talion a million times in every video.
Tamtar OP. It's fine.
Yeah. Go watch any of our stuff and and subscribe.
What is the best? The best deck in the format is turn 1 Rhystic Study, and Talion enables that so easily. Yeah. So there you go. All right,
beautiful.
So moving on, this is still going back to Lord of the Rings, right? And this is the holiday release, and they just came out with great cards in the little holiday release. They are Legolas's Quick Reflexes, which is a incredibly powerful card for any deck looking to do green things, basically. Hexproof at split second.
You play this.
Get out of here.
Yeah, why did they print split second again? Are you kidding me? Are you actually kidding me?
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane.
So how you actually play this Guardian? How has your experience with it been?
I've actually not gotten a chance to resolve it in a game, but I've played at least 3 or 4 games with it being in the games. Sorry, I know that's a weird way of saying it. It's been played against me 3 or 4 times because I haven't played any green decks since it's come out. Or the one deck I did was Sisei, but I never saw it.
Gotcha.
And every single time I see a person frustratingly look at their hand full of counter magic and they go, that does what again? Oh, fuck, a split second. Oh, but if you attack, I'm just dead. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me look. And then they flick their cards again, and then they look back up and they go, yeah. So I really can't interact with that, huh? And they go, yeah. And then they die, and it's happened every time, like every single time.
Yeah. I don't know what they were thinking either. Crazy.
I mean, I also see it a lot because I've obviously played with Lua a lot, and like Paco and Halden, that card's like it's goated, like it's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
The one thing I've appreciated about like Trick Bind and Legolas's Quick Reflexes and any card that has split second is whenever you cast one of those cards, no matter how experienced the people you're playing against are,
they always have to check.
Let me read it.
My favorite is Corrosive Grip. Anytime someone puts Corrosive Grip in a CEDH deck and plays it, the whole table just like doesn't know what to do with themselves. It's hilarious. It's so funny.
Just blood starts spurting out the ears. It's like,
wait, what? Oh, but you're not supposed to play that card. You're not supposed to play that card.
Wait, is it what is the card called?
Corrosive Grip.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, see, there you go. Another example of it. Yeah.
No, I know what Corrosive.
Sure you do.
I used to get got with that when I was playing. Well, no, I would play casual Muldrotha all the time, and they would hit my fucking altars. And
Yeah. Khalil. I don't know if you ever play with Khalil, but Khalil loves to put those kind of cards in his deck and just watch people lose their mind. It's so funny. I love it.
Oh, that's so funny. I literally just got a DM from Khalil as you said that.
That's funny. Yeah, and then the other one is Mists of Lorien, which we actually saw get played by Smalls in his Helia deck in a top 16 game. What was that? What tournament was that? I don't remember now.
Chaos
8. Yeah. And that card, I'm high on that card. I actually bought one.
I've been playing it for 2 weeks in Tevesh Krom, and it's exceptional for sure. The hard part about the card is that it is hard to play. That's like my biggest criticism of it.
A lot of blue pips.
Yeah. So let me. Yeah.
Sorcery speed too. Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah. So there are so many nuances to this card, and I think it's actually one of the most brilliant designs they've had in quite some time. Because you look at it on a face level, and you're like, oh my god, this is broken. The world's ending. But then you like actually start to like go through the play patterns, and it's like, okay, but like to really effectively ruin a board state in an asymmetrical manner, you need like 6 mana to make it work, right? Because a lot of the time you are picking a perfect mana value and then doubling up so it basically becomes uncounterable, right? So like target 2/2 drops and 2/1 drops or whatever, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, the replicate is only 1 blue. It's not the full mana cost.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Is like you have to copy 2.
Yeah. So if he's targeting two things, then you got to pay 3 + 3. Right, or 3 + 2.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, so you're
3 + 3, right? Because you're hitting 4 targets
to guarantee
to hit 2
resolution.
CMCs.
Yeah.
So it saw 6 to hit 2 CMCs.
Double
in a way that's guaranteed.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So and that like is some of the play patterns. So then you kind of have to do this mental math of like what is most likely to get actually countered. Do I want to just like gamble that they don't have the counter magic, right? Like you kind of have to do that sort of math for it, right? I mean, Dockside being a 2-drop is really helpful in a lot of this mental calculation, right? Because you're just like, yeah, I'll bounce all of the mana rocks, but I'll replay Dockside. But then you have to realize the Dockside count is less.
Right.
This is what I'm saying. It is a hard card to play, right? I've literally sat there with a Miss Lorien in my hand and gone like, okay, all right, if I bounce all of these, what is this mana value? Okay, these 2 things are keeping me, these 2 things are going to kill me if I try to go for Breach now, so I have to bounce these 2. And like the math is like not easy. But it's not easy because it's good. And the calculations you have to do is like, how do I guarantee that it's great, right?
Right. It reminds me a lot of like Hercule's Recall, like in a way where,
yes,
if you do it right, you bounce your own rocks, replay your rocks, and you can regenerate the mana that you lost. But it's definitely tricky. And and you kind of want to play it in like a meta where you're trying to get rid of a bunch of stacks pieces at the same time, right?
Yep.
Exactly. So
I mean, it's great when you're like, yeah, I'll bounce a ruler on a Ristic at the same time for sure. Like,
Yeah. But it's sorcery speed. So
It is
that high CMC can be a
That
real
is,
problem.
yeah.
If that card was an instant, I actually think it would be a problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
100%
no, I agree. I fully agree. I've always said it would be like too good if it was an instant,
Yep.
but it's also like I wish it was an instant at the same time
Yes,
because I have
yeah,
to play
for
it
sure.
more.
Let's just play Born Upon a Wind first, and you're good.
Yeah,
Boom.
straightforward.
Done.
Max gets it.
Yeah, and then the last one is the honorable mention is Galadriel's Dismissal, which is basically the phase out replicate one, which is also, you know, I haven't seen it be played yet, but I think that's another one that will see some play for exactly the same kind of
I
thing.
bought a copy of that
Yeah,
one.
to get rid of stacks pieces and clear the way for a win. I see like, you know, when Mardu Summer comes back, like it was ever really here. Yeah, I could see it getting some play.
Yeah.
Well, the thing I like about phasing a lot is that it's similar to how like a silence effect could be used offensively and defensively. Phasing works the same. So if you're on a very onboard strategy, like let's say you're playing this in Sisay or Elevir or Winota or any of those onboard decks, where it's like, okay, I can get rid of things that are stopping me if I need to, but I can also just say fuck your deluge and protect myself.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, and again, great design
I think the
on
card's
this card.
flexibility is it's really well designed. I think that's the same one. It's like, you know, you never want to play like Teferi's Protection in CEDH, but Galadriel's Dismissal has so many reasons why it is actually fine.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
Agreed. All right, now for real, we're actually done with Lord of the Rings. I swear. Yeah, yeah, and then we move on to one of my favorite sets of the year, even though I don't think it was really that good.
It's the worst set of the year.
I liked it. I liked it anyway. It
No.
was fun. It was fun.
I'm with Max.
So, Ian, why don't you take this one, Doctor Who? Right?
Yeah, Dr. Whomst. We have number 1, and I guess no number 2, technically speaking.
There wasn't another card good enough to be a top 2 card for this set.
Yeah, damn, that's some pretty aggro shade. I'm like also just pulling up the set right now because I'm like they have to be wrong.
We tried. We looked. There's the doctors. All the
Find
doctors
something
are
for us.
interesting,
Yeah.
but maybe they're underexplored,
Yeah.
and maybe at some point they'll be good. But right now,
Heartbreaking, truly.
yeah.
Yeah, but we're talking about Flesh Doobie, the
Throat goat.
Yeah, okay. I was wondering if you're gonna say it.
I would say it's the throat goat.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think like obviously Flesh Duplicate is a game changer as far as, you know, clones are concerned in the format. We wanted a Fimage that has upside, and we got one, you know, especially once again talking about how toxic Bowmasters is. Turns out
fine.
you don't have to care about Bowmasters as much.
Yeah, it's good. You know, and clones are just so damn good in the format right now. There's just so many good targets for it. Like,
Oh yeah.
you know, the Gilded Drake games, you know, I like to call it, where someone Gilded Drakes your commander, and then you Flesh Duplicate the Gilded Drake, and then someone, you know,
Right.
copies the copy, and it just goes crazy from there. Yeah.
Oh, you know why I'm thinking this set has better cards? It's because there's so many good cards for Sisay only.
That makes sense.
What,
Where's the doggy?
do you play the 1-mana dog? Yeah.
Some people have played the dog. Malcolm's really high on Adric, the one that's either a stifle or a ability doubler, which I think is kind of interesting. Yeah, so there's little things here and there, and then there's other ones people are like, oh, maybe this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I am curious actually. So if you were to copy a Sisay activation, like if you doubled a Sisay trigger, and let's say Sisay's power was 3, and your first one you got, you know, Flowering of the White Tree, and it bumps Sisay's power by 3, so now Sisay's power is 6. Will the second one, when it resolves, be power 6?
Yeah.
Okay. Then that's cool. That's actually really neat.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need that 90% of the time, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're just dockside chaining. But I mean, this set was like, there were a lot of cards that were cool, and we did a set review of it where we talked about like 20 cards from the set, and we really did have to dig deep on like playability there. And
Right.
I'm not
I think
surprised.
there's more commanders than there are like
Maybe.
you know, just playable 99 cards.
Yeah.
Which I know some people were really into. What is it, like the War Doctor and Clara?
But
or
have you
something
seen
that?
that?
was
Have
a
you
good
actually seen
deck.
it played? Like,
Very
Played against it one
overrated.
time.
Yes,
One
I've seen it
time.
once.
I don't think
Yes,
it's
so,
actually
yeah.
good. I think it's one of those situations that happens all the time where, like, I want to build something new, so I'm going to take this commander, I'm going to try to make it work, as opposed to it being so powerful that it's compelling, and you know, it's just something new.
Yes.
And I think that's the case here.
we do get a few honorable mentions though that just like none of them are good enough to deserve being a top 2 card from the set, but they're worth mentioning. Where I mean, River Song, you just got to give credit to Josh, Elder Drunken Highlander, who was able to top 4 on the strategy, and it is a cool deck. And
I think it's like a pretty
good.
underplayed around with card, and I've always admired Josh's ability to play some kind of off the beat strategies. I think this is one of them for sure.
Yeah, shout out to Josh. Is probably, in my opinion, one of the spiciest brewers in the format. I mean, he consistently puts together lists that you wouldn't expect and builds them to perfection. So he's a
definitive brewer advantage player for sure.
Just a great guy too. Great guy. Really fun to play with and talk to.
Go check out the show Punt Pals, which is him and MTG Hot Dog.
Hell yeah.
Talking about misplays. They describe it as, rather than talking about the 25% of games you win, let's talk about the 75% of games you lose.
Yeah. And it's also worth mentioning that my first encounter with Ian was also with Josh, completely ruining my life with their...
is that the Mind Break Trap?
That's the Mind Break Trap. Yeah, they psychically communicated to each other across the table from each other and completely ruined me. It was amazing.
That's pretty good.
But yeah.
And then the next honorable mention is Everybody Lives, which is a card I have only heard about in some weird combat focused Nagila extra turns decks.
Yes.
Which is a cool thing to be doing. Seems a little fucking not the best thing you could be doing, but it's a cool thing you could be doing.
I gotta say, as someone who's been playing Angel's Grace a little bit more lately, mostly because of Narset, I like Angel's Grace better, but to be clear, I think it's really like a kind of just like it's one of those things in CEDH where everyone's like, this effect is bad, and you're like, okay, but maybe, and they're like, no, it's bad, right? And you're like, but okay, can we think about it for more than 3 seconds? And I think this is one that you should be thinking about more than 3. I do hate that it does not have split second as well, even though we just bitched about split second.
I just want to.
No, but that's what
all I
makes
want to do here.
Grace
All
so
I want to do
busted.
is I want to play an Underworld Breach. I want to play a Glorious End, and then I want to escape Angel's Grace or this over and over again for my god and just take infinite turns, is milling my library somehow.
Yes,
that's all.
Good.
So all you need
Powerful.
is Lurrus of the Dream Den, so that you can keep getting your breach back, and then you're good.
No,
because
because Glorious End, you cast Glorious End in response to the trigger to sacrifice the.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works. I mean, yeah.
Don't say that works like it works. Get out of here.
I mean, that absolutely works. That absolutely works. What do you mean?
It's gonna be great.
It's a genius playable strategy in CD. It's the new Mardu meta.
I'm taking it to Top Deck Expo, baby. Let's go.
There's a few of the guys on the Play to Win server that I regularly play in that swear by Angel's Grace. So I've been got by that card more times than I want to be got by that card.
Yeah, no, I genuinely have been like every single time I've played it in Narset, it looks like I have nothing, and they're like, all right, well, he would have countered it by now, and then I just hit him with the Angel's Grace, and they're like, oh, all right, I'm out of the game, pass priority.
Yeah. They demcon away their library, and then they throw Oracle Trigger on the stack, you're like, all right, Angel's Grace.
It's also just like, I know a lot of decks that are like breach decks kind of struggle with oh god, I've lost my Thoracle, and I can't actually just hard mill you out, how do I win? Like, Angel's Grace plus Wheel wins, right? Like,
that's right.
Like, it is actually valid.
Yeah, I think you're right though. I think it's a card that there's gonna be strategies for, and and people just dismiss it completely, and I think that's incorrect.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Sonic Screwdriver.
It's an artifact in Tapper and One Ring meta. I don't know. Like that's the gist.
Have you ever seen this he play?
I saw it once.
Yes, in Heliod.
Yeah.
Heliod plays it.
Okay.
I think he took it out. I don't think it's still in there. Is it? I think he took it out.
I think he's tested it. I was talking to Smalls the other night. He was asking me what card I would cut to test out this other card, and I was like, I think probably Sonic Screwdriver.
Sick.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for Doctor Who. Moving on to the Lost
Arguably
Caverns.
the second most powerful set of the year.
I think so.
Take us home, Ian.
I think so.
Take us home.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ian. Finish it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 1, we got Blind Obedience with a big ass Stuntless Dismantler.
Yeah, card is broken. It's not even fair.
This card's sick. I love it quite often. I'm sorry for Florian, but this card's great.
Yeah, it's my worst nightmare. It blocks Florian.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, it blocks Florian. What the fuck? How is that possible? That's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, I actually don't know why they made this in 1/4. Like, that's kind of insane if you think about it. Maybe a 1/2 would have been reasonable.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's an uncommon.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It costs 2 mana. It's so good.
You know what?
No, I'm
I
generally
love
like
that
the
it's not
fact that
common.
you can like still be in those scenarios where it's like, oh, with blind obedience, my treasures came untapped, but I still go survive a turn, and Dauntless is like, yeah, no one's got the answer. All right, I'll crack, blow up all the treasures. Like, that's
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
more like actions in the game that you could previously take with that type of effect, right? So,
Sadness.
How do you feel about Dauntless Dismantler versus Manglehorn? I've heard this compared to a lot. And obviously, Dauntless is 1 mana cheaper, and it has the activated ability of blowing up all the artifacts,
Yeah.
which is very powerful. But Manglehorn also is tutorable removal.
But Manglehorn is
for artifacts.
green.
Yes, had come up a lot.
Manglehorn is green. That I mean, that makes it much less playable. Frankly, I mean, there's just a lot more white being played.
oh yeah.
I mean, it just is, right? So,
Oh my God.
you know, I could in a deck like Kinnan, I could see Manglehorn being comparable, but I think as a whole in the format, I don't think it's comparable.
No, I'm actually with Max here. That actually doesn't make any sense with this. I'm with Wounded Max here on this one. I think Manglehorn being target removal has actually saved me dozens of times with that card.
Okay, that's fair.
I think it actually
That's
has
fair.
been extremely relevant. Yeah.
I had a game.
I could be wrong.
Sorry,
It's all right. It's all right.
It's okay. I mean, but like it's hit Curse Stone and Grafdigger's Cage. Like whatever's stopping me and being the problem, it's like actually been a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a line. I was in a game with like Cam from Play to Win and Charles Mono White Guy the other day, where a guy, I think a newer player, he like played Defense Grid and passed with literally no cards in hand in like on turn 1, and we were like, why? And it ended up in this stacked out game state against Heliod's stack pieces where he had like Suppression Field and Null Rod and those types of effects, and so I had to tutor up a Manglehorn. And I had to play the Manglehorn and hit the defense grid. So then I was able to Force of Vigor the Suppression Field and No Rod before my turn.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't play green. So what can I tell you? I don't.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a biased opinion on this.
Yeah. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the trick is not to play green. It's to play green that has snorted a fat line of Colombian cocaine.
Yeah, for sure. Also known as given.
Yeah. Speaking of green and white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This card's pretty broken, right?
Yeah, Kutzel. We got a new Grand Abolisher that also has Upside and Sisay. Are you kidding me?
and it's a warrior for Najila.
Yeah, Warrior for Najila, legendary Grand Abolisher with Upside and Sisay. Sounds good. You sure?
Yep.
Also an uncommon.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Like,
I don't understand.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, this card's actually crazy. Like, genuinely, it's so good. I mean, obviously 3 mana's not 2, right? Like, which is a very stupid sentence, but it is, right? Like, it is accurate in the fact that like it can be disrupted a little bit easier. It can cost you the ability to like 2 spell for the winning game, right? But at the same time, like, it's a very minimal downside Grand Abolisher that allows you to, also be a card advantage engine and is once again adding to Sisay's powers. Like, all this is like, I don't know. Like, obviously for Sisay, it's particularly, it's like one of the craziest cards ever been printed for the deck. But I think there's a lot of, green-white X decks that are just going to play this because it's kind of free to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, regarding like mana cost, my opinion is almost at a point where I'm like, Grand Abolisher is double white, and this is white green. And if I'm looking at a mana cost, unless it is multiple pips that are black or red, where tons of rituals exist to easily produce those pips, it is, I think, genuinely anecdotally easier to cast different colored pip cards rather than the same pip over and over again.
Yeah, it's definitely easier to cast a Ranger Captain of Eos, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and arguably much more powerful. So.
Yeah, okay. Well, Ranger Captain works offensively and defensively, and tutors up an Esper cycle, which
but
is
there's
really
going to
good.
be games where the fact that it turns off all spells and not just non-creature spells, makes it a more safe, play. And
you like to dunk with endurance.
And the fact that it's a 3/3 versus a 2/2 for the Grand Abolisher means that I can't do things like Cabal Pit it, right? It survives easier.
Yeah.
So it's freaking broken. Great card.
What were you gonna say, Ian?
I was gonna say, just in general, like, as we go into this clone heavy metagame, it's just also good to notice, like, talking about these Grand Abolisher effects is something we have to just like respect, with the fact that like it's a lot harder to just Grand Abolisher pass nowadays. You know what I mean? So with Kutzel in the format, we are hitting like a critical mass of these effects, and it's tough. It's tough.
It also makes Reanimate more powerful, right? because as there's more reanimate targets than ever before, I think, as well. So
yeah, being able to reanimate a silence effect. I mean, that's something that's been huge in Blue Farm. Like Waffles really pushed through reanimating that strategy to get back your Thoracle, get back your Grand Abolisher, get back your Dockside, like push through those effects. And the more of them there are, the better it gets. You're completely correct. I've definitely been realizing that. And also, like, the clonability is huge, because I've even done like transmute artifact and everyone's expecting the Basalt, and I just have it come in as a metamorph copy of Grand Abolisher, and I'm like, it got, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's a real downside for sure.
So
I will say,
go ahead.
One of the cards down here in the honorables is like, I would argue actually close to these first two, and that's Get Lost. I actually think this card is, just because it's like it's boring to always put like a removal spell in these spots, but like our closest thing we had to this beforehand was oh my god, what is the name of that dumb card that exile stuff?
March?
No,
or Soul.
The one that creates a clue.
Partition. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, Soul Partition. And Soul Partition is, like, in my opinion, way worse than Get Lost, and especially in mid-range decks. I think Get Lost is like really, really a good pickup for any mid-range white deck, and it's like just so flexible. You hit heuristics, you hit your opponent's creatures, you hit the Dauntless Dismantlers, or you hit the Blind Obedience. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that it can hit. I think this card's extremely flexible. The fact that it can't hit artifacts, a little bit of a bummer. But I find that the creatures and enchantments are quite an important thing to be able to hit, for sure.
I mean,
I remember
the thing about Soul Partition though is it works as like a chain of vapor for your Dockside if you're in a Boros.
Yes,
deck.
yeah. I just it does work. It's much better in this is why I brought up mid range decks. The Soul Partition is much better in proactive decks, whereas Get Lost is much better in, like, I would argue, proactive and mid-range and slower decks.
But I think, especially considering proactivity, being able to hit Grafdigger's Cage.
Well, remember where we were a couple years ago, where white had basically no good removal other than creature-based removal. And if you look at the last year, we got we got Get Lost, we got Touch the Spirit Realm, we got Soul Partition, we got the other white one that the white and one that destroys a artifact or destroys a creature and creates a clue. You get March of Otherworldly Light. You got like just this like flood of decent, and we got Galadriel's Dismissal too. I mean, all of these great white
Portable Hole
cards. Yeah, Portable Hole.
Portable Hole. Yeah.
Even the new Portable Hole. All right, even that.
Yeah.
Like
Dusk Rose Heart or something.
Yeah. Just all these great white removal spells that just weren't there before. Yeah. So, I mean, someone was listening, and white does not have that problem anymore at this point, officially.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Other honorable mentions, so many good honorable mentions, like Tishana's Tidebinder. That card in the right deck is really, really powerful.
Yes. Glad you all agree.
Yeah. People compare it a little bit to Kitesail. What was the not Kitesail? The Nimble Obstructionist, but it's so much better.
Not even close.
So much
not
better.
Not even close, right? Like,
yeah. Taking away the abilities, especially for effects like Bowmasters, has been huge.
Yep. It's like a removal spell plus a stifle on a creature. It's so good. It is high costed. The fact that it costs 3, makes it a little bit difficult at times, but if in the right deck, I think it's just worth it.
And like the thing that like a lot of people, I feel like the example that I think is like the most important is like Rhystic and Tymna, right? Like the idea that it can stifle those triggers and then invalidate those cards is
it can't hit Rhystic. I don't
can't hit Rhystic. Sorry, so
it doesn't hit.
Well, it can hit the One Ring. It can hit the One Ring.
Yeah, you can hit the One Ring. Okay, there you go. Boom. Thank you.
Yeah,
I knew it was something.
It is. It's artifact, creature, or planeswalker.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, my bad. But
but it can still stifle a Rhystic draw, just one draw. It's still a stifle in that sense. It could still stifle a fetch, for example, right?
Yeah. So it works one time for any effect, and it shuts off the abilities of artifact, creature, planeswalker.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it shuts off Kinnan completely. It's super good.
I remember walking over to Max and being like, just so you know, there's a card coming, and it's gonna be a real pain in the butt.
Which honestly, like the way it was described to me, I was like terrified of how good it was going to be. And when I saw it, when I actually looked at it, and I was like, 3 mana, this is fine. I'm not going to see this enough. Like this is just not going to see enough play. If it was 2 mana, I think it would be way better. Like I know it sounds like, oh, your card would be better if it was better, but like at 2 mana, this thing becomes hyper playable, and at 3 mana, it's like specific decks might want this. And I know a lot of people are even saying, like, I'm testing it in Kinnan right now. Not me, but, like, I've heard from Kinnan pilots, and they're like, oh, it's been really good. And I'm like, yeah, it's one of those cards that is going to shine in certain moments, but they're like, oh, spinning in, like, I was able to luck spin into this in response to this. I'm like, that's the last thing I ever want to be doing, is try to luck spin into something. That's not really the effects I'm looking for in Kinnan.
Yeah.
Well, you saw I was testing it down in Atlanta, after the tournament, and it is 100% in the deck now. It's just been really good, really good.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of the effect. I think it's just like, it's got to go in the right decks, but like, if you know anything about my play style, it goes in my decks.
Yeah. All right, other ones. You want to talk about Charismatic Conqueror? That's
Yeah, I mean, it's a blind obedience for Winota.
yeah. As if Winota needs more help, but it does actually. So it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Does any other deck play that besides Winota or no?
Jetmir. Yeah.
Okay, Jetmir. That makes sense.
Jetmir's Winota plus
better
green,
Jetmir
right?
than it is in Winota. Yeah, that's kind of great.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's pretty good. And what, like, Jetmir, yeah, it adds to the board and like it's but like, think about what's the best human in your deck, and then anytime you decide to be a little greedy with the Soul Ring, it's like probably that human is coming at your face. Like,
because it makes vampires, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I guess the one difference is you can't hit it off with Winota trigger because it itself is not a human.
Most good enablers of the Winotas are not actually.
Okay, that makes sense.
From
Yeah.
triggers, yeah.
But it does. Yeah, it just gives you a disgusting amount of tokens. I mean, God, it's a 2 mana body. It's so easy to get down.
It's too powerful. Yeah, makes me sad.
The biggest downside of the card is that it's their choice, right?
Nobody play Winota, guys. Just don't pick it up again. Leave it alone.
Listen, you have all this Winota complaining, but you still absolutely whomped me at Punt City too, so I don't want to hear it.
You just gotta win faster. That's all. Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'll work on my Turbo Winota list.
Winota's having a resurgence. Oh my God! Charismatic Conqueror, Dauntless Dismantler, like Soulless Jailer. So many good Winota cards.
Yeah, I mean, even Boromir, which I was kind of like, I don't think it's that good for a while. I'm not correct. That's just not true.
It's like.
So the other cards here, all right. So we got Kitesail Larcenist. That card's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
It's.
I think it's a little slept on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot more of it.
I wish it had flash.
Say what?
I just wish it had flash.
That'd be too much.
I want instant speed interaction. I don't want sorcery speed interaction.
Oh my God, you do the Lua thing of I just wish it had this extra piece of text on it.
Yeah, well, no. For me, it's if it is something that is interactive and it doesn't have flash, it just goes down in my brain.
But
so much.
it removes 3 stacks pieces and lets you win, like in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
The cards.
I was gonna say, as someone who's played a lot of Grasp of Fate, trust me when I said the card's underplayed.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is, I wish it wasn't a human, so I could play it in Kinnan. Because spinning into this, I would fuck.
Yeah.
Like I would 100% do that because it hits every creature. So if I could play this in Kinnan and spin into it, like I could also turn my if I need to keep going, I can turn my tapped elf into a treasure or something like that, which would be great.
It'd be a tap treasure. Though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Be tapped. Yeah.
We'll see more. We'll see more of this card for sure. Though. We'll see more of it.
Yeah.
And then Squirming Emergence is just that card's that we're gonna see stuff out of that card. I'm convinced, just because the color combination.
It needs to get fleshed out.
I'm thinking Jund, like the fact that you can run a what do you call it? Oh my God, where'd my brain go? The board wipe that kills things under 2 and creates mana is the best card in CEDH. What's it called? Culling Ritual. So you go Culling Ritual, and blow up your own breach, then cast Squirming Emergence to get it back. You can now do Jund breach line stuff that you couldn't do before. So there's at some point we're gonna see that.
Is that it? Is that the thing that they needed though?
I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
But that's why I say this is a card that has clear potential utility, and it's one of those cards that just needs to get fleshed out a bit.
My thing with this card is unlike Savine's, which it keeps being compared to a frustrating amount in my opinion, is that it does not have flashback, which is a huge downside, right? So just to me, there are many scenarios where this is just why am I not playing Regrowth? Because every single person who's brought it up has brought up Underworld Breach, and it's okay, Regrowth is better 90% of the time, and in the Breach scenario, it's a little worse. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
it saves you a little bit of mana though, because it puts it on the battlefield.
Right.
Regrowth, you gotta have red, you gotta have black, green. Oh, you gotta have green and then 2 more, right? This you just need black green
Yeah.
one, and so it's easier. But yeah, you're right. I mean, maybe that's why
Well,
it
I
hasn't
think
done anything yet.
The other important consideration with scoring Emergence is it's mana value less than or equal to the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. So unlike Savins, it's not limited to 3. And I think that's where it breaks parity on it, where you can say, like, oh, I have this loaded graveyard from doing my shit. I'm going to get back my Razaketh with it. Like, that option
That's
exists.
the scenario I think, like, we should be, like, looking to push towards as far as, like, why is it better than other cards? I just, like, I haven't heard of anyone even doing anything near that is the problem.
Yeah.
Maybe something with 40
Although I will
Lord
say,
somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know Steven, who he topped he topped 16 Lotus Con, and he also was at Top Deck Expo, and he like lost on a win and in. But he's been playing this like Sands White, Crom, Rayhan, Reanimator list, and it's like in that deck where you're like either getting Breach or getting Sphinx or getting Razaketh, like that makes sense there, right? Because that's like way more what you're trying to do, period, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a card that needs to get
underexplored.
fleshed out.
Completely
It's a card with
underexplored.
obvious,
Yes.
yeah, it's underexplored, has a ton of potential. It's a card I definitely expect to see at some point, but it's just hasn't been figured out yet. And again, it might be once the meta, like right now, the meta is leaning so Grixis with you know white splashes for silence. If we get to a point in the meta that like the Sands White or the Jund is more where we're leaning, I expect to see more of this card.
Yeah. Which I definitely think we're starting to see a little more of that for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So
Thrasios
there's one card left. One card left, and I don't know. Does it belong in the top 2, or I don't know? Or maybe it's the best card of the whole year. I don't know. What do you think? Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I literally just
can I
made
do
a
it?
video today.
Go ahead.
Wait,
Go ahead.
wait,
Do
let
it.
me-
Go ahead.
Arg, me matey is aboard Captain Blackbeard's ship. We're talking about Francisco, Foul Marauder.
I think
I was like,
Everyone's-
what is happening?
It is the pirate bird to sail the seas.
Yeah.
don't play this card, please.
Dude, my favorite thing is there are 2 Francisco Discords. I'm in
gosh.
both of them, and one of them is smaller and actually considering like how to build the deck optimally, and the other one that's larger is 100% pirate memes. And that's all it is.
That's the appropriate one. That's the correct Discord.
Yeah, it's so fucking. I mean, again, the thing about this card, which I love that you argued with me that this shouldn't even be on our set review. When we did it, and, like it does have a very quick, efficient combo with Walking Ballista and Agatha's Soul Call.
Sure.
Like, the combo's not bad.
Sure.
It does the thing. And
I
mean,
will argue against the word efficient to describe this combo.
Okay.
Because
What
if
I
you
will
hit a
say-
land on top, this is the worst combo in the
Yeah,
Exactly.
But okay,
God, it's so
okay.
bad.
Hear me out though.
Yeah, go on.
Hear me out though. We are playing the game Magic the Gathering with the primary, I say it again, primary purpose of having fun.
Huh?
And if you're playing Francisco Foul Marauder, you get to talk like a pirate. For
Oh,
the
okay,
entire
there you
game.
go.
Welcome
I
to
hadn't considered
Colors
the
Are
implication.
Crutch, the podcast where we discuss the casual side of CEDH.
Yeah.
Yo, let me have my fun.
But yeah,
Listen, Max wants to be king of the pirates, and that's okay.
go ahead.
We're gonna storm their.
You should bring that down to Atlanta for sure. Definitely.
I don't have fucking. I don't have a Francisco
I'll get
deck. I
you
wouldn't
one. I'll
build
get
that
you a
trash.
Francisco.
I'll send you my list right now.
I'll just build Tevish Crom instead.
Yeah, damn, you figured it out.
I found the line. No, it's fine. You know what I mean? It's an honorable mention. It's not one of the best cards in the set. It's maybe one of the most copied cards of 2023. It's up there.
I think
Ooh,
it literally was
God.
made as a meme, and people are like,
Taking it
okay,
seriously,
but yeah.
but we love it. He's so cute. Like, you know what I mean?
Cute. He is cute.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the real question: what are the top 3 most copium cards of 2023? It's got to be Francisco, Thotadel, and
Rowan.
Thotadel
Yeah.
and Rowan. Is
Yeah.
that it? Is that the 3? Okay.
I like that Thada Adela card printed in like 2012.
Makes
It's
the
like
list.
our biggest
Well,
copy
yeah, but
deck
like,
of the year.
well, you know what I mean? Like the One Ring, everyone
Yeah.
was like, "Oh my God, the One Ring in the command zone," and then it just like can't win the game to save its life.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No one expected it to.
Yeah. Well, we did it. We got through all of 2023. We talked about all the good cards and Francisco
us.
even.
And Francisco.
So, this was a lot of fun. Ian, thanks so much for joining us. This was a
Yeah,
great
thanks for
time.
having me, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have you on again at some point. With when we have another year's.
Well, actually, I would like to hear.
Yeah, go on.
Ian, with all you've accomplished this year, which has obviously been just crazy, and that's why we're calling you the GOAT, and I mean it when I say it. What do you think has been the most impactful thing that's happened to you this year, Magic related? What do you think really hit home the hardest?
I guess, what do you mean, as far as like things printed, or like just as moments in the
moments in your Magic year?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I had a career-defining moment in the two Twisty Fisties, right? Like, the winning 2 Time Twisters within 8 days was, like, something I don't expect to ever do anything comparable to that again, right? So, I'm grateful for this year. I'm grateful for the opportunities that have been presented, right? Yeah, no, I love CEDH. I'm going to keep playing it. And the format's interesting. Wizards actually gives a shit about us now, which is really cool. And like cool. You can tell with some of these printings, right? Like, and especially like look at Secret Lairs, right? So one of the reasons I like hype Secret Lairs up so much is because you can tell some of the people at Secret Lairs love us.
Yeah. A lot of CDH cards.
The Tavesh Vial Smasher, Jessica, and Godo Secret Lair. It's like, okay, all right, which one of you? What do you knows what you're doing?
Yeah, for sure.
We appreciate that. Though. We appreciate that.
Sure. Oh, for sure, we appreciate it. I bought it so fast.
What was your moment this year, Max?
My moment this year in CDH. I mean, for me, it was topping on Talion at Top Deck Expo. You know, getting over the hump, feeling not being just a one-trick pony anymore. So that felt really good, and feels like it kind of opened everything for me. So, we'll see where we go from here. Mm-hmm. How about you, Max?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, obviously, I'm new to CDH this year. You guys have both been playing longer than this year, so my only CDH experience is this year. First top 4 was cool. Second one was where I proved to myself that it wasn't a fluke, which I appreciated. Like that felt good internally. Probably though, I think my peak this year that hit home the most, which was also very frustrating, but it was probably my SCG Gone Columbus top 4. Because I hit 3 top 4s in 4 weekends, 3 tournaments in a row. And it was also my first ever in-person event. And I'd always been told from some people it's like harder to prove yourself in person than online. And so that was where I felt like I cemented myself as a player. And I also got to meet all of these people in person for the first time and like get to know everyone and get a little more ingrained with the community. So that accumulation of things really probably makes that my key moment of 2023.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, it was super sweet to actually like get to know you as a human being. That weekend. So.
Yeah, well, not that weekend, but later. But yeah, nice to get to know you.
Yeah,
I met you at a
No, I said it wrong. The moment of 2023 was meeting you, Max, for the first time. There you go.
Oh, that hug, dude! I gave Max a piggyback ride.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we have reached the end. Sky's the limit in 2024. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Helps us a lot. Check out Ian's ComedianMTG channel as well. We'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, find me at youtube.com/ComedianMTG, where you can find the largest YouTube channel as far as breaking down competitive EDH tournaments. Mostly provide top 16, top 4 coverage, as well as doing deck techs, stuff like that. I also do CEDH coaching as a full-time job, so you can email me at ComedianMTG@gmail.com. Find me on Twitter and Discord, any of those places, which are also always in the descriptions of my videos. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. And I guess to bring us out, thank you so much for listening to Colors Are Crutch. Please make sure to like and subscribe. We do have a Discord channel now, and the link to that is going to be in the description below. I am one of your co-hosts, Max Sternberg, aka Wounded Satellite, and I'm joined, as always, by one of the most magnificent beasts to ever graze planet Earth, Max P, the Italian Man. Thanks so much for listening today.
Thanks, guys.